Hi, I'm delighted to be here with Claudia Grace Mckell, the writer, director and lead of Just a Girl.
Hi, nice
Thanks
to
so
see
much
you.
for
That's
joining
all
us.
right.
Thanks so much for coming. I should say first of all, the film is nominated for 2 awards.
Yeah.
So Best Local Film and Best Actress.
Yeah, which I'm
So-
really pleased about. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We really loved the film. Can you tell us briefly the premise of the film to start with?
So the film's about a young woman struggling with hearing loss, and she moves to a rural village and she meets a young man in a karate class, and it's basically her journey to acceptance and also her journey to realising that anger maybe isn't the way forward, and being angry all the time is not going to get you through life, and how martial arts and the young man Massimo she meets, who's played by Jacob Anderton, how they change her kind of perspective on how we can deal with hearing loss and anger, and both them through martial arts, and also just ironically listening more, not maybe with our ears but also just being patient with each other. So yeah, that's the basic premise of the film.
Great. I should also say you have quite a history here with Romford Film Festivals. You've been here a few times before as an actress. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so last year I had Guard of Auschwitz, which weirdly I was both in both categories that Just a Girl is, I was in last year.
Okay.
So one was for Guard of Auschwitz, I was up for Best Actress with Helena, and the other one was I Love My Mum, which was assistant producer on, and Kirsten won Best Actress in that, so it was nice, we both got awards in each category. And I've come to Romford Film Festival quite a few times just because I want to support local Essex film festivals that are going on, because it's really important for Essex, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have the talent with us as well. I believe you're in a film, you have a small part in Killer Tattooist as well.
Yeah, I have a small film. I have a small part in that. I won't tell you what happens to me. It's gory.
No, yes,
but that was
gory.
fun. It was fun to do something different. I haven't done a horror film, so that's why I wanted to do a horror film. And also, it was again working with Terry, the director. I've worked with a couple of times. But yeah, it was my first horror film, and horror films are always fun to do. So that's why I did that one.
Brilliant. So, just talking about Just a Girl. So, this is the first film you've written. How much is it based on your own experiences? Or tell me about the process of writing. How long did it take you?
So basically, writing, I would have never written a film. I trained as a dancer at dance college. I was going to be a performer. Nothing was going to go behind the screen or be crew or anything. That was never in my goals. And then I had a car accident, and I broke my arm and had a plate and was out of dancing for about 3 months. But when you train as a dancer, you're not out for 3 months. That's for someone that doesn't need to use their arm in multiple ways, like handstands and lifts and things. So I was out for about a year, and that kind of shifted where I was going to go. So I started writing purely because I had nothing to do. Like, I couldn't even go to the gym. So I was like, well, I'll just write something. I needed to get it out. So it took literally probably about a couple of days to write, but then fine-tuning it and editing it, because of the subject matter, I kind of felt like I needed not just my own personal story, which I do suffer with hearing loss, but I wanted to make sure it reached out to multiple people. So I had a meeting with a girl called Carla, who basically is the same kind of, she went to dance college, and she's losing her hearing, but in a different way to me. Right. And I used some of what she said. Other people reached out to me on Instagram, and I used their stories as well, because I wanted it to be a mix, because a lot of the time with stories that involve being deaf or losing your hearing, it sometimes is very, well, you either do sign language or you don't, and it's very, you wear hearing aids or you don't, and that wasn't my journey, that wasn't my story. Right. So I tried to mix it up with how actually when you realise you've got a problem with your hearing, it's not one way, it's very, sometimes you try different things out. So in my 23 years of, because that's when I started doing it, when I was 23, I hadn't spoken to any of my friends, and that was the start of speaking to my friends about having hearing difficulties. Right. I've never had hearing aids, so I wanted to mix how actually it's very complex. It's a very grey area. It's not black or white. So yeah, it took about a year in process, and then about 6 months to get some money together and get the actors I wanted. But writing's a whole different ball game. I've seen how it takes fine tuning to do, and also getting it right, and even down to when you work with your actors, if it doesn't feel right in the actor's mouth, how you can change it. Unfortunately, I was directing, so I had that ability to have those conversations with those actors, so it made sense to them as well, because it's kind of, if it doesn't make sense to them, you can't see it on the screen.
Did you always have yourself in the lead role, or did you ever consider having someone else?
Yeah, I went through loads of show reels, loads of different people, different ages, and then I kind of came down to, I'm never going to get this opportunity again to do something so personal, unless I write another story about this, but this is probably the most personal I've ever been on screen. And also I think I wanted to challenge myself. She didn't say much in it until the end, so I wanted that opportunity to, as an actress, realise, sometimes saying nothing is quite powerful. So I wanted to challenge myself as well, and also I just thought, I'm never going to get it to do my kind of me. So I see other people doing it, and then I was like, I think I'm going to do this one.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I can see it, but it's a lived-in performance. What I was going to ask. So, can I ask you about casting the rest of the film? How did you go about that? So there's the parent's role. There's the role of Massimo.
Yep.
Can you tell me about how you came to do those?
So I watched a lot of show reels. I've worked with all of them, but never really had shared the screen with them, or I felt like our journey wasn't enough. So Sally, who plays my mum in it, I'd worked with her on set but had no scenes with her, and I just loved how she was, and I loved her, and I saw her on theatre in Little Voice, and I was like, I want to work with her. And then the casting of the sensei, which was Tyler, that was a hard one, because it's such a small role, but he has a massive monologue that's so important to the film. It's almost like the core of the film, what he's trying to say. So, and that was, he does little motivational kind of things on Instagram, and I was like, his whole persona and who he is as a person is that role. He's very motivational, he's very ambitious, and also it is the fact that I wanted a man or a person of colour that was in a powerful role as an entrepreneur. So that was really important to me. That he owns the business of the karate dojo, that he's saying a message. I've done so many films where black actors are either being stabbed or they're gang members. Well, I've got so many black friends that aren't that, and I wanted young black people and people that aren't black to look at that. So that role was a kind of different choice in a way, because there was so much going on in my head of how that role needed to be played, and Tyler did that. And then Ian Burfield I've worked with a couple of times, and he was perfect for the stepdad, because I made him a stepdad again, because stepdads are often in the press a negative thing, but I've got so many friends that have stepdads that have changed their lives. So that was also another important role, and I know Ian could have brought that edginess of what happens with a stepdad and there being difficulties in that relationship, but also that love as well. So that's how I cast it basically. And I used all the kids were local from Little Stars, which is a place that I taught, because I really wanted kids that did know the theatre training but weren't too jazz hands in a way. And the karate guys are from Kaz and Kai, a local Essex karate school where I train at, and that was important, because I remember in Rocky they always have real boxers as well. And it's so important, because karate isn't just like actors. Karate is like you've done it for a long time, you know the philosophy, you know the training. So I mixed it with actors and non-actors as well. So that's how I cast
Things
it.
like the karate scenes, I think they've got to be authentic.
Otherwise,
absolutely. Straight away an audience will notice.
Well, I did put Ty, the sensei, a bit in the deep end, because I literally sent him with a referee, and he didn't have any of the Japanese in the script, because a lot of the time in karate classes, some of the Japanese, the pronunciation can be rubbish in classes sometimes. So I wanted it purposely to feel like that. So I did put him in the deep end, but he has had training. So a little bit, and Jacob hadn't had much training in karate. But I surrounded him with enough people that did, so that it looked authentic, like you said.
Yeah, it's great performances all round. As I said, it did feel really authentic. Where did you shoot the film?
So we shot it all around Essex, so locally in Goldhanger, and we used the village hall. That was important as a location, because a lot of the time in like martial arts films you see it in this grand dojo, and I wanted it to be like grassroots level, village hall, small, community based. So that was an important location. I shot some of it in my garden, some of it down the road from me, showing the coastline, because it was kind of, the location was very important as well, the ruralness, because I think sometimes when you live by the sea or you live in the country, there's a freedom, and that's the character of Rachel. She hasn't got that. It's been cut from her, being the freedom of hearing. Right. So I think the location was quite important to that, and giving that country feel.
How did you raise the funding to make the film?
So some of it was crowdfunding, and then some of it was, we had producers come in, Susan and Helen Jack, who they came in and they wanted purely to support female-based films, female-led, female-directed, and so they came in. Our another producer was Hannah Waddingham, who's an actress famous for Game of Thrones and Sex Education, and she came in and she's a really good friend of mine, and she wanted to support my first film, kind of. So it was really cool how so many people came. A couple of favours people did for me, like all the karate gear. It's Kaz and Kai, they gave it to me. So I pulled a couple of favours, but it was very low budget, but I'm quite happy with how it looked. I think Tarantino says to make a good film, it's just love. And that's what kind of made me do it. If you love movies, you know movies, you can make an okay film. So I think if you put enough time and effort in, it's going to be shown on the screen.
Yeah. What are some of your influences? Do you have influences you think about, or is there maybe some subconscious ones, I don't know, when you're making a film?
Yeah, so I have. So Tarantino is one, but it's not a Tarantino film at all. So I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I think how he shows women, because I'm really obsessed with the idea of women and violence, and how it's important to show angry women, because we do get angry, and not in a silly way, that actual violence. But I have also like art. I take pictures of like art, so like Hopper. So a lot of when I'm storyboarding will be art. So I send stuff like that. Some things like Manchester by the Sea, a film was quite similar for this film. But yeah, I screenshot a lot on my phone. My phone is literally full of screenshots from artists to photographers to stuff that I did. Like I just film. Sometimes I'm out and people are like, "What's she doing?" And I'm just filming pigeons or something. But it's different things like that. A lot of influences from my friends and family, and how actually that their lives how the ordinary can be extraordinary in a way, and that interests me. So yeah, constantly changing. My music as well is constantly changing, and influences to try and make. But the film, kind of the colour, I knew I wanted it to be green, and that the colour palette. So yeah, it's all different influences really going on there.
So this is your first film you've written and directed, we said. You have a history of being an actress in different things. Where do you see yourself in the future? Or what do you see? Do you class yourself now as an actress or a filmmaker or both? And in future, obviously, what other things are you going to go on to do?
So at the moment I'm crewing a lot, just because I didn't want to go to film school. I wanted to be on set. Because I was thinking, should I go to film school? And then I was like, I'm just going to get on as many sets as I can. So at the moment I'm working on a daytime soap, just because I went on to that as work experience for Just a Girl, because they work so quickly. There's different locations, there's different actors, you've got guest actors. They do 22 scenes a day sometimes. So it's the best film school almost. And you get to do, I don't know, shooting up cars to a really intimate scene. So you get to the varied. So I'm doing that at the moment. I don't know, I'm kind of touring with the idea of going into more real-based like documentaries, and I'm really interested in real things, so like real stories. But then saying that, I'm producing a period piece next year, which is again female-led, but it's a period piece, so it's something different. I'm always looking to do something different that I haven't tried, because each set you're going to learn something new. If it's a horror, how blood splatter should look, or if it's a drama, how to do an intimate scene. So I don't really know where I'm going. If how I'm at with acting at the moment is it's all to do with the script. I'm not going to just do it to be an actor now, which I never really was like anyway. But now it's really got to be based on how great the script is. Have I got like chance to really show something and say something? But yeah, working on a period piece and then working on a daytime soap, so very different. So at the moment I have no idea. It could go, but just as much just to work in film at the moment is a privilege. So if I can try and push it as much as possible, I will.
Yeah, brilliant. So this is the first film we've made. It must have been very daunting to start the process.
Yeah.
What would one piece of advice you'd give to someone who was sort of in that position, thinking, I've got something I really want to do, but maybe just need something? What advice would you give me?
The thing that I keep hearing is I'll be on a set and there'll be loads of people, and that's what you have to. People often look at even the young runner or the lighting guy doesn't want to be a lighter. They'll have a script. Most people have got an idea, and if you've got it on paper, even better. But a lot of the time they're saying, "I've got this idea, just do it. Start doing it." Because a lot of the time you go, if you don't do it, it's never going to happen. If you do it, and there's mistakes on the screen I can see, I'm going to watch tonight and go, oh, there's different things. But you've done it, you've made a film, you then can go on the next one and learn. Yeah. So my basically advice is just do it, is the thing, because you can spend years talking about it. And raising money is hard, but so is brain surgery. Do you know what I mean? It's not that hard. Yeah. It should be, the whole point is how much effort you put in, the love of it. So if it was easy, we wouldn't do it, it'd be boring. So I just say to anyone, do it and talk to people, because the more people you talk to, the more, even out of the, not in the industry, like they were the best critics almost, because they're the punters. Yeah. And you'll be surprised how many people will want to do something. And if you're tight for money, try and bend favours or approach a company that might want to, people think this industry is sexy, so they might want to get involved in a film, and just because it's glamorous, they might be able to go to a press night, or there might be a company that wants advertising. So there's lots of ways you can go about it, but my advice is do it, because you can wait forever, but at the end of the day, what are you waiting for? There's nothing to wait for.
It's great advice. Yeah. It's a really great place to end. We really love this film. Congratulations. We'd love to see your next work here at Romford.
Thank you so much. Yeah, whatever that might be. Thank you so much for having me.